everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, Pete Wright. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
I'm
so relaxed right now. I've got the feet up, kicking back.
Oh, I'm so not.
Well, you got to earn it. Maybe you got to earn it. I don't know.
I have a busy weekend ahead of me, so I'm not relaxed.
Ooh, a busy weekend? That's no good.
Well,
it's like you're doing it wrong.
No, it is because it's exciting. It's my daughter's birthday, so it's a very happy celebration.
That's okay.
There's just stuff to do today.
Well, as promised, we are going to be talking about recharging and the importance of taking downtime and working downtime into your regimen, particularly when you're struggling with ADHD. But before we do that, you should head over to TakeControlADHD.com and get to know us a little bit better. Listen to the show right there on the website, subscribe to the mailing list, and find us on Twitter and Facebook at Take Control ADHD. You can call us, leave us a voicemail at 503-664-4ADD. Get your voice, your thoughts, your ideas on this show. We'd love to hear from you. Okay. First, actually, we have some follow-up.
We do. Because people actually did what you just told them to do.
I love that.
Yeah, they called, they emailed.
Well,
they're giving us suggestions. It's awesome.
I love these suggestions. I just love them. Which one would you like to start with?
Well, I say let's start with the voicemail from Nancy.
Okay.
And I'll give you kind of a brief introduction to it. And then if you want to talk about the email from Suzanne, I think that would be fabulous.
I would love to do that.
Okay, great. So we received an email from Nancy following up on the Focus follow-up show. And she had a couple of different ideas on how to use timers. And so I thought they were fabulous. One is, I won't go into it. You can listen to it. But the first tip was really focused around the morning routine and what she does to kind of keep her and her children on schedule and focused during the mornings. And then the second piece was how she uses a timer to tackle those chores around the house that are boring. So I thought that was really a great suggestion. And so I just, again, want to say thank you for calling in. We really appreciate we appreciate hearing from you what people are doing and what's working, I think is great.
Absolutely. And so here we go. This is Nancy.
I have two things that I need to do to just keep me going. And whether you're diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, whatever it is, or just are a busy mom, and sometimes I just don't even know the difference, I think this is helpful. At least it helps me. I have a child that is completely my responsibility to get going in the morning. She's special needs, and it is very easy for me to just lose my track of what I'm doing with her in the mornings. I set a timer when I've started getting her going every 5 minutes, just to make sure that I am continuing to pay attention to what I'm doing. I start getting her ready, and it is a 5-minute timer goes, and once that timer goes off, I look at it, I can see that, oh, geez, it's 20 of, and the bus is going to be here, and it just helps me to stay focused on what I'm doing. I don't really know why, but it helps a lot, and I stay aware of the time that way. The other thing that I use my iPhone for is when I've got a completely overwhelming mess, either a disastrous kitchen or a pile of laundry that I just really don't feel like getting to. I take a picture of it. I set the timer for 5 minutes, and I go at it, just really working my way through it. And in 5 minutes, I take another picture of it. And it's just sort of silly but fun when I'm done to see exactly how long it took me to go through everything and to actually see my progress as I went. And honestly, it's really only 2 or 3 different pictures that I've taken, because these messes never really take that long once you actually do it. But it also motivates me to do it again, because it's kind of a little game I play, to actually see almost the as I go along, what I've actually done. sometimes life is boring, and it just kind of keeps me entertained along the way. Thanks for your podcast. I enjoy it a lot, and hope you guys are having a good day.
I love playing the game with the timers.
I know, it's right. It's cool. And the pictures, I think, are a fabulous idea.
Yeah, it's a fabulous idea.
Great way to track your progress. So, yeah, I think that's a really great tip.
Yes. Well done, Nancy. I hope that helps others who are in that same situation. Thank you so much for sharing that with the community. We have this digital feedback from Suzanne, where she is talking about managing emails from stores. And her idea here is to get the best of both worlds. You can keep an unclogged inbox and access coupons and sales on demand. She writes, in Gmail, you have the ability to filter emails. The filter is a powerful tool that many people aren't aware of that allows you to control how many emails or how emails behave when they come into your inbox. To find the filter menu, open the email from a store you subscribe to, click the More button in the top menu, and then click Filter Messages like these. In the first screen, you can specify the email sender, which should automatically populate. For example, filter all emails from sales@store.com. Then click the Create Filter with this search link at the bottom. In the second screen, check the box that says Mark as Read. This will make all emails that arrive in your inbox from sales@store.com automatically appear as read or unbolded. There are additional options available in this screen, such as applying a label, which allows you to further customize and manage your emails if you wish. Then, the important step is to filter your inbox so that only the unread emails show at the top of your inbox. To do this, hover your cursor over the word inbox and click the down arrow that appears next to it. Select unread first, and you will see that all of your unread bold emails pop up to the top of your inbox. The read emails are still there. They're just below and out of the way. Net result, you can remain subscribed to as many store, coupon, or sale emails as you want, but when they come to your inbox, they're automatically marked as read and will not appear in the unread emails at the top of your inbox. Then, when you're in a store, you simply use the Gmail search feature to search for emails from that store, and you have access to all the latest coupons and details. So that is from Suzanne. Thank you so much for writing. I think it's a great tip, and I think that it is particular, and I've said this before, I think it is our responsibility as users to become intimately aware of how filters and notifications work. And I think this is a great example. I would add, for me, I don't like having these emails in my inbox, read or unread, because I'm an inbox zero guy, right? I like to have my inbox clear at the end of the day. I don't want anything in it. And when I get out of control, it's because I have too much noise in my inbox. So for me, I would modify, Suzanne's concept here, and I would just say, move them out of my inbox. Either create a custom label that moves them out of the inbox so that I can click on that label in Gmail and get into it as when I need to. I do not want to see those things in my inbox ever, ever, ever. I feel like it's just filthy, dirty stuff, and it keeps me from getting stuff done. So, but her instructions are great, and in fact, we'll go ahead and post her email in the show notes for this show, so you can read what we just read. So it's a great concept.
Absolutely.
So.
Very good.
Very good.
And filter those filters. That is something I definitely need to become more familiar with, because I think it would probably save me some time and frustration of getting all that stuff coming in all the time.
Well, it is, particularly if you use Gmail on the web. Now, I would add, I don't use Gmail on the web, even though my email addresses are all Gmail addresses. I use a third-party email client, and so that in there, they're not called filters; they're called rules, and you kind of have to invest in learning how the email client uses rules to filter. You can still do everything that Suzanne said. Like, I could go and set up rules and filters in Gmail on the website that would then automatically apply to my third-party client, or I can set up rules in my third-party client that apply after Gmail has already processed them. So it can get confusing, but you really do have to learn the system that you're using to make best use of it here. So that's it.
Awesome.
Great follow-up. Thank you to Nancy and Suzanne for reaching out.
Yes. So I'm going to pretend now that I don't have a lot to do and that I'm going on vacation, which will happen here in a couple weeks. So yes. I'm gonna jump ahead and go there. What do you think?
I think that's great. Let's just see if that works.
Okay. All right. Well, I did a little research on this topic of recharging, and so what I did is I wanted to find out why vacation is good for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I actually found a couple of different articles that I thought were interesting. And again, we'll post these on the show notes too, so you can read the full articles. But there's one particular one from National Geographic that had some statistics that I thought were really interesting, that only 14% of Americans will take vacation of 2 weeks or more this year. The standard holiday in the U.S. is now down to a long weekend.
Ugh.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so hard to hear.
It is. It is. And then there was another article that was talking about that Americans are frightened of taking time off work for vacation. A survey by the U.S. Travel Association found that 4 out of 10 Americans aren't going to take all of their vacation days. Why? Because they're not exactly enthusiastic about the work they're going to find on their desk when they return. Now, I know just from talking to some of my own clients that people not only fear coming back, but they really dread the week before vacation. Trying to get everything done and in place before leaving is also an extremely stressful time. So it really doesn't make sense. It's like you're so stressed out before you go, and then you go, and then you're stressed out when you come back.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
It's a funny thing, too, because, I think we, when we're talking specifically about work, right? Yeah. I think and I think this is a uniquely American thing. I'm not sure. It's not good. This is not a good American thing. Or maybe it's a Western thing. I don't know I don't know. But I think we overestimate our own importance in our jobs, right? That we go to work every day and we think that if we don't go to work, that somehow something will fall through the cracks to the point where the world will stop spinning. And by and large, that is not reality, right? Some way, shape, or form. And maybe the fear is slightly more nuanced than that. Maybe the fear is that, and I know when I worked at a big company, it was there was this sort of lingering back of the mind fear that if I go away and I truly hand off my job to somebody else to do for 2 weeks, that when I come back, they will either have discovered something that I've been doing wrong, right? That's the fear of the imposter's fear, right? Is that I'm somehow a fraud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they will have changed the way I do things as a result of my absence, and I'll either have to learn some new stupid system that I didn't like in the first place, or I'll have to work to change everything back. Like something will have been changed. And that is an additional kind of back of the mind stress that you just don't want to deal with. So it's easier not to take a vacation at all.
Well, and it's interesting that you brought the imposter syndrome up, because this was a discussion that I had just in the last month or so with one of my group coaching groups, and that came up. And that was the reason that they feared, is that, are they going to find out I'm some kind of fraud, which of course they're not. But it is that fear of, did I miss something and they're going to find out what I missed. And, what was really interesting is when we were kind of talking it through of what do you really need to do? What are the priorities? What's really important? I asked, actually, I didn't even ask. One of the group members asked, the person that was dealing with this at the time, have you talked to your coworkers? Have you talked to your boss to find out what they think is important? And she said, no, I hadn't yet. And I think it's a really good point, is we may think all this stuff is necessary, but when you actually ask the source, they're like, no, you don't need to do this. We can do it when you get back. The importance isn't as important as you think it might be. And I think you'd be surprised that most coworkers and bosses want you to go on vacation. They want you to take the time off, not worrying about work. And so they want to help you out. And so, yeah, I think, good. Were you in that call and I just didn't know?
No, I wish I were that lucky.
Yeah, because that was a discussion.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I actually, part of it got me thinking about it, because we got a tip from a listener related to this just this morning.
We did. I didn't see it.
Well,
Where did it come from?
It came directly to me from friend of the show, Jordan Gamble, who is a listener and kind submitter of awesome things occasionally. And this is one of the things that he pointed to was an episode of a podcast called Hack Your Inner Genius, on the Art of Charm podcast, which is an interview with Judah Pollack. And part of it is about, relaxing and unplugging, but he does mention this, the stress that comes from imposter syndrome. So it's been on the brain. I think it's in the collective conscience. And I will post this episode. I haven't listened to the whole thing. Again, he just sent it this morning, so I've gotten through about half of it. But it is a fascinating conversation. It's a lot of it is about sort of human performance, but I think this is it applies directly to there. And actually, Jordan has some other another couple of tips which I'll talk about in a minute. So.
Great.
Yeah, I will let you finish your thought.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I have another thought.
Oh, that was it. I totally derailed it. And now we're moving on. Yeah.
Right. What was also interesting in some of the research that I found is how good vacation really is for you. And it's really contrary to what people believe, that when you go on vacation, when you are able to recharge, you come back more productive, more focused, more creative. And I think we tend to kind of downplay that. Like, we don't see the actual benefits. And I know for myself, when I take vacation, it reconnects me to the people, that I love and the people that I'm not only vacationing with, but it kind of takes you outside of just your career, your day-to-day duties. And, I think that that's important to have that balance of, yes, this is my day-to-day living, but it's also exciting and fun to live outside of that, right? And have memories and moments that don't have anything to do with your work.
Oh, that is so huge. And this is something, and I file this under, please let my life serve as a warning for others. Every year I do the Chautauqua thing. And Chautauqua is a wonderful place. It is a great place for vacationing. It's also a great place for learning and reflection. And they offer classes every day, and I usually teach every year out there. So I go on this vacation ostensibly to vacate, to relax and recharge. And then I spend 2 weeks teaching. Which is, as much fun as it is, and as much as I like teaching, and I like teaching these short sprint classes, it's also work. And I have never actually, it's been years since I've gone to Chautauqua to actually work, or to actually take a vacation, or to connect my brain to something else that is not related to the day-to-day work that I do, as you're saying. And so this year I'm making a pact. I'm not teaching a class this year when I go. I'm actually, the first class I take on Monday morning, I'm taking a 3-hour class on culinary knife techniques.
Wow. Okay,
right?
cool.
I'm going to learn how to cut stuff like a sushi master chef.
Oh, we should get a video of you and post it, like, chopping onions as fast as you can.
I will do exactly that. You may get little pieces of finger in your sauteed onions, but it will be there. I'm very excited about it because I feel like I'm going into it with intention. And I think that is a lesson for me that I haven't learned very well, which is to be very intentional about my relaxation, about my, and I have a resource I would like to share. It's a woman that I am deeply enamored with, and she's a healer and kind of just a nurturing spirit at the Spirit Heal Institute. Her name is Sarah Weiss, and she offers a series of grounding meditations, and her voice is incredible. I mean, you want her to read you bedtime stories at night. She's just got a wonderful voice, and she has 2 free grounding meditations where you put on your headphones, and she walks you through this space of understanding how to ground yourself, right? How to slow down, how to clear your mind, how to pay attention to your feet, how to really understand, your breathing and the way you are relating with space. It sounds a little bit hooey, like when I say it, but it is super important and super useful, particularly if you don't know how to do this yourself, if you don't really know how to slow down. And in my conversations with Sarah, I've interviewed her before, and in my conversations with Sarah, her statement is, we as Americans are really bad at relaxing. We don't know how to do it. And particularly if you're struggling with ADHD, I think that is an even bigger problem. And that's my question for you. So I'll put the link to Spirit Heal Institute for her guided meditations from Sarah Weiss in the show notes. My question for you is, when you're relating with your clients, how is their experience with ADHD different when it comes to relaxing and embracing downtime?
Oh, I think it's stopping their brain from thinking and going a million miles an hour, right? And I think that what you just explained with the meditation could be a really good tool to use, really at the beginning of your vacation, because you really do need to expect that it's going to take a couple more, probably more days for you to really get to that place of peace than it would probably with somebody that doesn't have ADHD, just the way that your brain is wired. And so that might actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because that might be a really good way of really opening yourself to that vacation and being open to relaxing and recharging and trying to fight all of the busyness in the head.
Well, I think it is. And that gets to my experience, which is, I go on a 2-week vacation and I really have the greatest intention to actually vacate, but it takes me 4 or 5 days to get work out of my head. And so then I have, 3 or 4 days where it's essentially a long weekend, right in the middle, where I'm actually able to clear my mind. But then it's, come Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week, and I'm starting to think about all the stress of work to come again. And now I've effectively had a 3-day vacation sandwiched between really stressful days where I'm not working because I'm not supposed to work, but all I can think about is work.
Well, and I think there is a statistic, maybe in even one of the articles that we're going to post, that it states that you should have at least 2 weeks. And I was even told recently that it should really be 3 weeks in a row. That's just tough, though, in the way that our society has built vacations in the workplace. Most people get maybe 2 or 3 weeks of vacation per year, but they don't. I mean, rarely, when I was in the traditional workplace, rarely did anybody ever take those consecutively, unless they were leaving the country. It was like you had to leave the country to take 2 weeks off.
Isn't that says loads in itself?
Yeah. So anyway, you bring up a good point. I mean, I think that that's a real reality that you have to think about. One of my suggestions and something that I learned from the research that I did, and just what I would suggest anyway too, is picking the right vacation for you. And what I mean by that is, I remember talking to somebody about their vacation. It was a client, and they were like, I'm not going to sit and just read a book. Like, I can't do that. And so I think it's really beneficial to I don't know, maybe think about a little bit more about what it is that you need out of vacation. And I think having that balance of structured time and unstructured time would probably be ideal. If you want to be busy, check out what the tourist attractions are, and do a little bit of planning and thought process of this is kind of how you would want to lay out the week. But with, again, some flexibility so that you can have some unstructured downtime. But I just think it's that insight of what is it that I really want to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want to see? Because as we know, ADHD can focus on the things you want, the things that stimulate you, the things that are exciting. And so, really thinking about that. If museums aren't your thing, then, don't be going to Washington, D.C. for vacation.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, right. I think you're bringing up an interesting point to me, and it sort of underlies my intention to take a knife class rather than a writing and podcasting class, right? While I'm on vacation. Yeah. But there is another thing in this article that I mentioned, the Judah Pollack interview from Jordan, that talks about the power of associative thinking. Are you familiar with the concept of associative thinking? Associative thinking is, this is from the podcast write-up, which I think is a good enough description of it. Associative thinking is when you take two or more things that aren't ordinarily put together and understand, or at least strive to understand, how they share a connection. It's not something that comes naturally to those of us who grew up in the Western world. We are geared to be on task toward a specific job at hand, and nowadays we're more busy and goal-oriented as a society than ever. That gets to one of my concerns about, struggling to be on vacation. It's that when I'm dealing with trying to clear my mind, it's usually because I'm fighting hyperfocus, right? Which is where I'm thinking about just one thing all the time, and I'm only thinking about that one thing, and I'm not working to strive toward associative thinking, to make these connections between two discrete bodies of understanding and figure out how they relate to my life. And I think taking a vacation really helps me to do that, and really to explore some things that are outside of my normal body of understanding in my normal day-to-day work. And I think that can be, even if you're busy, that doesn't necessarily, if you're busy doing new things and introducing yourself to new ideas, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not recharging at the same time. I think that can be a really energizing and building and growing kind of a concept.
I agree. One other thing I would want to add to I have 2 points actually that I would want to add to this conversation. One of the things that I see clients struggle with when they are either planning a vacation or even going on a business trip is that packing piece can be very stressful if they're waiting to the last minute to pack, and then they forget something, or they're afraid that they're going to forget something. And so, this is just something to think about before you go on your next vacation, is what can you do to prepare for that a little sooner so everything's not the last minute. We have a vacation checklist in our downloads that I would encourage people to check out as a template, just to get you started. But one of the things that I suggest to clients is to have sort of that ongoing checklist that you can, delete and add and work with. It's a working checklist as you go on vacation. It's like that camping checklist that I was talking about a few weeks ago. I go back to that and I change it as needed. But one of the things that I'll do with going on vacation is I'll highlight the things when I pack them. So when things are packed, it gets highlighted so that it's out of my head. I don't have to think about it anymore. Kind of frees up that space and builds trust into this strategy, this checklist that I've used. And then just double check and make sure, okay, everything's highlighted. And if something's not highlighted, then, do I really need it? Maybe I take it off the list altogether, whatever. But really just getting in the mode of what can I prepare and do now, so that I'm not, waiting to the last minute. And we need those reminders. The worst thing you can do is try to keep it all in your head.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So that's that point. And then, my last point, and then anything else you have to add, Pete, is not to forget to take care of yourself when you're on vacation, because your ADHD doesn't go away. And so, we've talked in the past about exercise and eating healthy, and all of these things are so important to you to manage your ADHD. They still are, even when you're on vacation, and you want to feel good when you're on vacation. And so the best way to do that is just to make sure you still get your exercise in. Maybe it's not the same exercise routine as you do at home, but get that walk, get a walk in, whatever, try to get a good night's sleep. I know I'm terrible at this, but you go on vacation. I can eat anything. I can drink as much as I want. I totally understand that mentality. But this is just something, it's just a reminder that, it's still just as important for you to take care of yourself on vacation as it is outside of vacation.
Absolutely. I think to tee off onto another bit of research that Jordan sent along in his email. And it's a very brief point, and it links to a study which we'll put in the show notes from the Stanford Woods Institute for the Environment. Stanford research finds mental health prescription is nature. When you take care of yourself, go for walks in the woods, find nature. And here's the upshot. In this study, 2 groups of participants walked for 90 minutes, one in a grassland area scattered with oak trees and shrubs, the other along a traffic-heavy 4-lane roadway. Before and after, the researchers measured heart and respiration rates, performed brain scans, and had participants fill out questionnaires. The researchers found little difference in physiological conditions, but marked changes in the brain. Neural activity in the subgenual prefrontal cortex, a brain region active during rumination, repetitive thought focused on negative emotions, decreased among participants who walked in nature versus those who walked in an urban environment.
Or on their treadmill.
That's exactly right.
That actually brings up a really good point, because I think, okay, well, I could easily do my exercise, in the home, or should I just go outside and take the dog for a walk and make it a little bit harder? I mean, that's you have a convincing argument there.
It's blame Stanford.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's
Good
it.
Stuff.
This is great stuff. We have lots and lots of links to share in the show notes and in the podcast notes. So make sure you head over to the website, Take Control ADHD, and look them up. This is, I don't even know, what episode is this? This is
214.
214. Seriously?
Yes.
You can jump to takecontroladhd.com/podcast/214. and jump straight to this show. How easy is that?
Pretty easy.
Pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Thank you, Nikki Kinzer.
Thank you, Pete Wright.
We have we said last week that this was going to be our last episode before our own vacation, but we lied. It turns out we do have one more thing to say.
We take full responsibility for taking that back.
We take it back, and we're going to do one more episode before we both really officially go on vacation, because we don't have 3-week vacation. We have 2 weeks of vacation. And so we're going to do one more thing next week. We're going to answer a big question. What is getting organized just enough? We opened the question last week, and we didn't really answer it. And so we got a great question from, this was somebody in your group, right?
Yes.
Yes, somebody in your group asked this question, and we're going to answer it next week. So join us then. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.